Welcome back to My Hero Academia Anime Review Special number 58. This I'm reviewing the fourth light novel released for My Hero Academia. Festival for All released. Actually, I thought it was last month. I forgot it was actually this month it was released. Yep, like usual, these light novels have got multiple stories in it. Yeah, but unlike other ones, we're usually very linear, basically like continuous, or at least several different things at the same time. This one, no. Let me show out the post that's in here. Great looking poster. Yep, there's about 6 different stories in here. First up is Float-Filled Work Study. Which I read this story, I'm like, did we ever see a story before in the anime and the manga? It's basically a day of one of the days that Red Riot was with Fat Gum and Sun Eater on his work study. Mostly put, it's just the same as is basically presented in the anime. Nothing really much to it. The second story, which is basically... look at the new stories. Prep. It's basically what Senso, the guy who is Porker's brainwashing. Yeah, it's simply what he was up to during the preparation process. And basically hints at stuff that would basically be set up for the joint training arc, basically, that happens right after the Endeavor arc, which is going to adapt soon in the anime. That's simply what that one was. And in case you want to know the stories, Float Study is only about 44 pages. Prep is 32 pages. Yes. And then we have the longest story of the entire book. Romeo and Juliet and the Return of the Prisoner King of Azkaban. Yeah, this is Class B's play they hint at the show, which they never showed in the show. Yeah, the play itself is interesting most. It seems like they combine Romeo and Juliet with Lord of the Rings and frickin' Star Wars. And a little bit Harry Potter. Yep. And there's some shenanigans going on here. The main character's sword gets broken, so you have to take another character's sword. Yeah, it's a okay story, but it's not the story basically what this one's all about. Fifth story, which I think is the best story of this entire thing, Festival for All, it's simply put stuff... Oh, before we get to that one... Oh, I almost forgot about this one. Now, this story, I thought was interesting through this in here. Beauty Pageant. Which is focused on a couple characters in here. Focused on Hisumi, the one from a support class, and one of the big three. Najira, basically. The pictures here in the bottom. Yeah, it's stuff that was happening before Lemillion, Deku, and Eri first show up, basically, in the beauty pageants. And it's basically them looking for missing objects. Like, a necklace was taken, and Hisumi's remote was taken. One of her babies, one of her devices she invented. Turns out it was taken by a crow, of all people. Yes, a crow. It's a fun little story. And they hint at, basically, they ask, like, why was it Momo invited to basically participate? But she basically made it for this. Okay, I mean, not only invited her, I would basically throw in Otaku. She might be interesting looking in a beauty pageant, or Froppy might be interesting, but why only Momo for? I don't know. It's a fun little story, but Festival for All, like I said, like, here's the thing. It's the best story of this whole thing. And there's mentions about basically Deku's battle with Gentle Criminal. Deku did win, but the book doesn't spoil what happened during the actual battle itself, aside from the fact Deku beat him. Yeah. And it's basically, a lot of the stuff basically probably not be shown on screen for the school festival. And there's one point Deku disappears. Everyone's like, everyone's wondering where the heck he is. But look how he does not leave Eri alone. He's not stupid enough to do that. He at least leaves it with Otaku, which that was pretty smart of him to do. Leave it somebody he knows. Eri kind of knows who she is. She does know her a little bit, but at least she kind of trusts her. Yeah, Eri is like 8 years old, like 6, 8 years old, and basically, apparently, there was no stalls that had candy apples, so he went to go bake a candy apple, and thanks to a video and the one who's built to make sugar, let's see, who was, oh yeah, it's Sugar Rush. Sato, yeah. He helped to make candy apple for Eri, because she has a thing for apples, though Lemillion keeps thinking that she has a thing for peach, because she's a peach. But she has a thing for tangerines and apples. Okay, fine. And it's a fun story. It's thoroughly enjoyable for what it is. Now, the concert is not actually in the story itself. They probably mention it, but it never actually happens in here. But it does happen. Of course, these stories are canon. They probably mentioned the concert probably did happen, but probably happened a little bit later. And it's overall really good story. The final story is the after party, which basically has all the hero study teachers basically getting all drunk. Which, yeah, this is nothing unusual for the series to do. Why? Well, in the case for a lot of teachers, my guess is they probably would do this after having a basically kind of like a festival. That some teachers probably would do this, have an after party later on. Of course, they tell jokes. It's a fun story, and having the prince basically chastise them later for their foolishness. Yeah, it's a pretty good story. It is a step down from the last book. Not really. It's still the same level as the previous book. And for a book I was definitely looking forward to reading, it's enjoyable. Aries only featured in one of the stories. Despite being featured on the cover, she's only featured in part 5. She's mentioned a couple times. She's mentioned in prep, mentioned beauty pageant, heck, even the at the party one. Yeah, because they also mentioned that apparently Eraserhead is not good with shopping, and apparently Midnight really want to take her shopping at some point, which I would love to see that. A woman basically known for being a very dominant superhero, who's basically kind of like a dominatrix, having her go shopping with Eri makes perfect sense. Yeah, but also bring along Taku, bring along Momo. It will be like a fun little shop. I'm sure she probably just, okay, can you please bring along Deku? Probably because she probably knows him the best. And the fact he actually went out of her way to rescue her and he protected her. And from what I can tell, Eri looks up to Deku like a big brother. Which I think Deku probably appreciates that. This book is fantastic. Give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Thoroughly enjoyable book. Though, in the case of all the stories, the best story is part 5. 6 is basically a close second. I would say third is probably Beauty Pageant. I would definitely rank the prep probably in the same area as, probably rank that above part 3. The third story in here. Third or rank fourth, the one I rank dead last is the first story, for a purely good reason. Because we've already seen it before. Why we have to have this for? It's a minor extension, basically, we saw in the anime. But this book is actually thoroughly good. I do recommend it to people fans of My Hero Academia. Now, I have checked. As far as I know, there's not been any announcement there's going to be any more light novels. I hope there is going to be more light novels because I love these things. They're thoroughly enjoyable to read. I love reviewing them. And so far, I've viewed every single one released so far. I thought initially they were going to stop at 3, and all of a sudden I saw this on Amazon. Like, oh, a book 4. Awesome. Can't wait for it to come out. Though it came out, it felt like it took a while for this one to come out because last book I think came out back in October, I think it was. And this was released just this month. We had to wait a long freaking time. Usually these books came out like once every like 3 months, 3 or 4 months to basically release these books. And look how they released this book this time. Now, the last book was released the same month as one of the volumes were released. At least this one was released during a month, but it doesn't have a volume get released here. I think the next volume, which I think is volume 25, I think it is, that gets released next month. And at least I appreciate, though, they actually did not release the same month as a manga book. Which probably gets people basically read them comes some money. Yep. Also, this book is like really thick. Like, oh my gosh, this book is 265 pages, which out of the 4 books, this makes this book the longest. But in case you're wondering, what is the shortest and longest story in this book? Okay, the longest story is part 3 at 64 pages. Actually, more like 60. It's 65 pages. It's really long. The shortest story is the first story. It's only about 44 pages. Actually, it's the all festival out. Yeah, that's the shortest story. I mean, the last story of the book. It's only about 36 pages. Yeah, it's only 36 pages. Beauty Pageant is 42. It's a little bit shorter than the first story. But part 3 is the longest one of all the books stories in this book. Yep. So yeah, not much else to say about this book. It's good, and I'm hoping for a book 4. But one thing I'm hoping is focused on is the time skip between joint training and the third most recent arc of the series, which was the villain arc. I hope they actually kind of fill in that gap because there was a time skip. I would love it if they focus on that time skip. Yeah, focus on what happened during that time skip. I would personally love it because that would be utterly fantastic for the series to do. Okay, so that's it for this particular review. I have roughly 2 more videos hoping to do today. One be finishing up the Inuyasha series, the other will be the final thoughts on the series. That'll be up probably later on today. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.